Yeah, I'm good to Yeah, today je t'écoute tu veux t'appeler du use de niveau de la bébé. Get on the touch of Tamala ya. And tragic delay je. Today ni Georgia to the what they carry is what the big use the pair up at the day. Ayu big use the Kadecho shot, Tomo Kadecho shot, and they look as it to shots in it or Tindy.
So everyone, Tishtale especially for the teachers here present here and everyone together also, not only here but at home. And I greet you especially for the day of Tibetan scripture. And my main aim today is to talk about the evolution of Tibetan calligraphy and scripture.
Pachisa today is that three to page uses at the pig uses at Halia Lujerimresha. Kashi is to China Lujeto Lagzeno, Kashi is in a Lunito and a Chito Sumjao, Chito Jejas in authentic street, which is a La Cheto Manda New.
Yes, talking about the Tibetan scripture, this Tibetan script or Tibetan writing. And so it says there is two ways of presenting or saying like when was originated this. First of all, one of the presentation is that we have 4,000 years of 4,000 years of Tibetan script, and others scholars they say that exists from 1,300 years.
Chesa did a Lujerembe, Tamazu, Rini Natigol did to do Chigitone, Genamalayachi, Choda Jata, Pekali Kavisharesha. Nichunitire, Nininga Dicolia, Tandapelea, Zhangzhung Chia, Ticola, Logju Cheni, the Jero Coin Junior Tandapel. She's a tender is a Chenambalayachi, Tupesua, and Bodayachi, Chenambalayachi, and Lucia Ravado, the Naluni, Pachi, Chonamala Ramareti. A Yimba in a carrier in a cell, teaching Yimundo, Tamazo pay back Tama, Kiun of the Yanchi, Gaj, Trish, or Tindrik, Tananga Chimbuchi, Tony, Tomag, and Carloverta. Sonti Jisuza, Tangarogi, the Rini de la Gaje, but Rini de la Narogi, Tandapetila, Digital, Missy Mombus Kia is a Narogilla Doa Bichani, the Temdek settled, Tangachi Shimela Matupe, and the Chenavale Ticolemata.
So we are talking about something that exists from long time, isn't it? Either 1,300 years, either 4,000 years, right? And so there is so much story to talk about, and so within these just a few minutes, couple of minutes, and so it's impossible to talk everything. So I'm gonna do a very brief presentation about that, and not only that, but also I am not a very big expert, or I haven't really did the proper research in this topic, and so actually I'm gonna share here whatever I have as information, but out of my respect and my deep respect and deep appreciation of this script, the Tibetan script. And so out of this, I'm gonna share with you here, but because I haven't still like done so much deep research and so forth, and so I might not be so beneficial or to bring so many insights to you. But all of us, like Tibet, mainly the Tibetans, we people from the land of snow, right? And so we really have to really enjoy, we have to cultivate the deep joy and proud of our Tibetan script. And out of this respect and this deep appreciation to our own Tibetan script and writing, so out of this respect and also out of the interdependence, respect of interdependence principles, that today I'm going to talk to you.
So today is that Tanda Petal, Matsuki, Piki use it, Tapiki, Soba in and Kidu in and Join and Sukozan Tana Gabachi in a to Tajaga Tolojani, Tidika, Sonchi Chesu, Nimuchi is that the use it in Nimu, the Kati Chosha Zigura, Tamasu Tidi. Soba Kid on Suzu Gaba in the Tama the Sonsi Chesu, that the Kati Chosha, the Suki Temple Cheshas in National Rome, but Trash Ligata. Today, the temple Jenny look at Saint Lucia's in a room of which that room do. Then I need to choose the Lulangusto Jajo to teach it.
Well, since we are here, since our people, we don't have freedom to really express about this, to talk about this topic. And we are now here in a free country that we can really express and talk about these and really preserve and promote the Tibetan scriptures. And so we're gonna talk. Let's start with the proper presentation. So first of all, when this Tibetan script started, when this Tibetan script day, right? When this started and how this came about and so forth. So first of all, actually the Tibetan calligraphy or script day, this didn't start from long time ago. Actually, it started in 2017, maybe 9 years ago.
드려야지. 나디 너무 너무
Okay.
다 너무 구츠들 다 수주샤라죠. 너무 기 컨게다부터 쓰레서들 다다 아주 암교성 중문물을 넣었지만 별이 별로래지도 그쪽이 처음 가시기야 들으지는 그런 게 수간에 다 아주 디들이 초바 자득제 디들이니 다 비지 저요 아니 유즈님은 아니 깎도면 총드셔야지 공샤 깎디들라 깎디들 총드야 공여들 디노를 초시와 같이 패샤로들 ina haliang ta phu chuka so ki tam khipa mambuji phesha zu ta ani yizu lang khipa yeke ani ta tru to rini to ta nyanga ta pe jin do na pe ji rini lang khipa changman zawni mi ja do suncha lang zawni ani ti che de tembo che sha ji ya ti
Gyatan sunchura.
ja do sunchu
And so in 2017 in a region in the Amdo side, in the Zhangzhung region. So there's a university, so Zhangzhung Nationalities University. There's a department specific for Tibetan studies. And this Tibetan studies department, they organize a committee, and this committee they formed in order to organize when is going to be the day to celebrate the Tibetan script. And in this committee and this day, so it was a meeting with more than 130 scholars, very deep scholars, and then also many monastics, anilas, and monks and so forth. And all of these scholars, they were scholars from any of the fields of knowledge or science of Tibetan science.
어쨌든 근데 뒤쪽에 된 거지. 다 뒤쪽에 된 거지. 어디로 그쪽에 다 지금 들라지 적중 해봐 되게 많이 봐. 뒤쪽에 아니 다시 순수대 적중 해봐 많이 봐. 그래서 내가 수비게 용도 하용 이제당 설치 순춘 초도의 제니 기다지비 따로 숨질라 아니 백 유즈니 뭐지네 때문에 뒤쳐서.
And so this committee they formalized that the 30th of April 30th, is going to be the day of the Tibetan script. Why? Because 30 and 4 represents like the whole division of the alphabet. So we have 30 consonants and 4 vowels, right? And so for this reason, just to represent this or to symbolize this, so the first the Tibetan script day is celebrating the April 30th.
제가 뒤에도 뒤때 뭐죠? 다 뒤값뒤들이야 초도 전에 그저 디 님문들이야 초다스 구두세네 다 그저 높에서 졸레 몸부치네 단 초다리네 그저 수수수가 다 초다 디가도 가우두세네 미수수수가 존이 킬레도 갑디들 그저 초다스 주셔 초다스 그저 템버 주셔 단 초다 디리다.
So in this committee, there were more than 130 scholars, right? All scholars from grammar. They were experts in grammar, experts in Buddhist philosophy, and so forth. And they decided, all of them, they brought like an idea of logo for this Tibetan script day, and they decided to summarize all the ideas within in this logo. So this is the logo, right? The logo of the Tibetan calligraphy day.
오케이, 근데 다디고 초다가 가르쳐도 제가 띠기 돈에 러시 춘추지 전화 툰두지. 요 배니 집으라지 들어와. 띠장아 띠기 돈이야 러시 툰두지 전ത്തിന് 만두기. 다디 타갈디 걸버시 도와. 타갈 걸부데. 인 타갈 걸부데서 가르쳐도 전에 아주 베지다. 너지 직대. 거러라와 거러라위 거리 진감도 주거든. 진감. 아주 벽에 산이라고 들어. 사자도 주거든. 인 타갈 걸부시 도와.
And so, what represents this? And so, let me tell you the very sweet story behind this logo. And so, this the external circle, the external white circle, so represents the external continent or the external world that represents the place of Tibet.
농가 ngombo지 도왔다 ngom보데 니 ngom보되게 가르치는 가서 배바다 머리도 쳐거든 당가좀 드디진 루샤오라 머리 배바도 쳐거든.
And inside this white big circle is the small blue circle. And so what represents the blue circle? So represents those the vase or those beings living in the white environment, which represents the Tibetans.
니 숨도와디 나퍼당 이거다 쇼섬 이거 쳐도니도 쳐도 담부디 맞아 이기 등게들라 체주마다 가르치고 그래서 가지고 아니 이거도 나퍼요라 나퍼도 쇼서 주고 그래서 인케지 신호설로다 인케지 신호 섬지 어디 주고다.
And can you see 3 drawings inside this blue area? So there's 2 ways to understand these 3 drawings. So the first one, can you see that there are 3? So these the yellow one here, the yellow sign, these and these, right? So the first presentation is in order to write, we need 3 things or 3 ingredients, which is the ink pot. So this is a form of the ink, right? And then the pen itself, and then the paper.
어디래서 니 이거 연초도 이바다 가르치도 표추가서 줘.
And then the second presentation or understanding of these 3 drawings are the 3 main areas of Tibet. So Uzang, Amdo, and Kham.
예. 어디 다가르스는 디 초도디 본바지도 하대. 본바디기 아니 맞죠 소지지 르니 달하주 아니 노테기 르니 찍다 아니 사실 위소 취지 중가도 좋거든. 본바데 되게.
And so these the yellow drawing here, so it represents like the how can I say, the expertise mainly the expertise in Buddhist philosophy or inner science, and representing the Lhasa area.
네 뉴구되게 아니 도런 지리니다 아니 너메타이 추가제 좋다. 너메도 좋다. 암도.
And then the second drawing here, like the pen, before was the pen. So this represents the second the way of presenting. So represents either the modern science of Tibet together with the Amdo side.
니 쇼되게 아니 무슈리니다 아니 너테타이 추가제 어미 추가제 아주 너테무 감바도 좋다.
And the third, like what in the first presentation was the paper. So now these also we can understand as being representative of either Kham area and also the 10 mundane science, Tibetan science.
어디래? 다 그저기 유스기다 니모기 디지금 초도라부터 뛰래셔. 나들이 저들 땅아래 뒤로 드노려 봐 같이 가르치기 주소지는 나좀들이 손짓 제구나 이 손짓이나 구바가리를 전체 가리래서 좋아라. 아주루 따바리 뭐 가바리 초바리 제들이 무슨 망보 싶어서 돈이 단다디 손짓 제대로 많다이는 수수 가바지네요. 페이스북 걸로 자네 지들이 니모 유지 니모세네. 근데 손짓 제대로 어디라 구바가리 전체 가리래서 땅아래 그 지금 창로도 자네가 이제 튼두지 셔도 줬어.
Okay, and so this is the logo that I wanted to present to you, okay, of the Tibetan Calligraphy Day or Script Day, okay? Okay, and so now we go, so maybe some of you are also questioning, right? Like, why do we need to celebrate this? Why is it important to celebrate this day? And why is it important to promote this day? What's important, like to share this logo or the news of this day and so forth in the internet, in Facebook and so forth? Why is like that? What is the need of this? So I'm going to share my opinions.
근데 자 당아쪽이 유즈데 지티딜라마 타니 탈루 제톨 하스게 지당 지도 섬자오 제갸스게 칸이 용그래 제가 딘데 지자 콘타카리나미나니다 나쪽이 디여리도 마 존이 할레알루지니 말이 이니바이 마마서 티 용마기 저런의 용딜은 디게 리닌딜라야 타르가 할레아 몸부초에 까까로 야지 두르 까까로 마냠차 두 임바 옛나요 단답해들 딘데치는 용토여다 단답해.
So first of all, in my opinion, is that just like we said before, so it's a very long story. So either from 1,300 years or either 4,000 years of story of Tibetan script or calligraphy, isn't it? Just like I said before. And not only that, because it's such an ancient cultural heritage that also went through so many difficulties and so many ups and downs or ups and downs or stages of flourishing and declining of this calligraphy. And so for this reason, we have to recollect all the understanding and what is the importance of understanding this Tibetan script.
Jeto ni tol ha chiga ma jerab ti no to le di rini ti ki nga cho ki pemri ki rini mambo che nya sa che ni le yore tanda pe nga cho tanda pe le pepa ze ya ta pe ke rini ze ya no chu no te ke rini ze ya ta tanda nga cho le chi lo ju che je yo ze go nga cho di ki to le chi nyaw le che na da di ki to le chi su su ke chi lo ju che na da ka ri me je ti ka te ze go ro ta ma ju ja ma chi um che ki ta rini sa chi sho ti ta ko cha de.
And thanks to the existence of this calligraphy, thanks to the existence of this writing, this Tibetan script, that during all these thousands of years, we still can preserve, we still can either study our Buddhism text, right? Either to really keep all the science that we have, the Tibetan science and so forth. And so everything that we really have, all the fields of knowledge that we study, is out of the kindness, is out of the out of the existence of calligraphy, out of the existence of a script.
제가 나로 남지 가르치기 위해서는 린이디 아주 린이지 봉주라고 냐사치게 냐반다고 돼. 인구지 제대유제 다그 린이디 가르세는 닌디기 저러 망부식이 출래 아주 디 유진 디기 놀아야 그 린이 망부 저거 냐사치네 코든 타올 잡이 코든 딜을 잡이기 닌디 린이지래 제가 되자 이자 할 레와 자친구 할 레와 냐사 제구바 니 냐사 제구비 린이 디기 냐사비기 린이디요 다츠 가서 지금 만취게 된지기 린이 많이 봐 아주 지금 다 친구시나 잠벌레 지디기 대야 된지기 린이지래 당아서 노테 더 야르무지 가디나 송도 가르즈는 너 동안이 자그 린이 걸어주 제삼나 비 정구레스 가르즈는 비 노는 첼라메 바지 시트하게 나는 잠벌레 게르지 갈 하두세나 베인디니 하데샤스 다 베이즈네 베이가 유진 디기 돌 탐데야 이자 제다다 고다가리만 린이 디기 마치 베지 린이 치앙나다 초앙나데 냐사체니 용상게데 다다페 용상게데 린이 고차 제가 디인장 아주 할 내자 친구래지 어디지.
And when we say about this script, the Tibetan script, calligraphy and so forth, is a proper science. And so we have the whole field of knowledge just about the script. And this is really like, I can see this as a big treasure. So why is it a big treasure? Because condensed in these scriptures, in these scripts, in this calligraphy, like it's the whole history of knowledge of Tibet, the whole understanding of not only Buddhist philosophy, not only all the science and so forth, but the whole history of whatever we Tibetans we have as knowledge. We can still promote this through the existence and abiding of this script and of this science. So just like His Holiness usually says, so in order to really promote the philosophy of peace and understanding in the whole world, in order to really have hope of getting a world peace in this world and so forth, what we have to promote, not only like sutras and sutra and tantras understandings and so forth, but all the understandings of this philosophy of the principle of the Buddhist philosophy and so forth. Everything is condensed or is based on this field of knowledge, or this science of this script, the Tibetan script. That's the reason that actually, if we don't understand Tibetan language or script, we cannot learn all the philosophy and the other science that is so beneficial for the world. For this reason, to understand and to really preserve Tibetan scripts has really like a long-term benefit.
어때지? 니네 단당 아주 머리지기 나오기 차리시나 머리지기 나오기 차리시나 이기 제한테 이기승도 할 내가 짜지 모르셔. 네 직대 네 돌아 같이 네 소나 빌라 땡기 그 머리디요 직대 들라 치수 가자. 예레 뭔디 투자한테 당아서 교도 속에 덤층다 뛰고도. 근데 이자 안다 자나 조이나요. 아주 그 되게 머리기 다 짬에서 쭈다 보대 그 속에 가른 문배체 두세우디는 아니 계획들 매봐서도 계획을 가서 자유 쉽게 되지는 계획도 매봐서 가서 내주지도 아니니 잡아 아니도 매봐서 찾으지도 다 그래서 뭐에 주 때려서다. 제가 뒤에서 계획 해야지 jitedala mesona mrizete adi tan jitedala landra
Mhm.
yen jitedala gachani suna mrizete jitedala nitrate ta kein dag
Mhm.
sochada masona chede yuta otigi tsawachi mo yema sikdiresa
And also is a foundation stone of preserving an identity of that people, of that society, of that people. So that's the reason that nowadays, for example, in order to exterminate with the Tibetan identities, the Tibetan people in China. So the Chinese, what is actually doing is deleting or exterminating the Tibetan script and writings. So if you delete or exterminate, disseminate this kind of the foundation of the identity of the culture, and so which is the script, the letter, the writings, and so forth. So you naturally you also will exterminate the whole identity, the whole existence of that society.
이치치 다요 진짜 소바치도 다때 배 야부다시 토서 가로게 나니로 데 마게 베지 빈세기 파레스기 데 케치 가르자 발라카르 꾸니 디체라테나 칠로르 디체라테 코밀라 당아서 베메라 디체라테 로도 거기다 잠블레 치토 케르라 pen 키바르자 하버드 베기 케르라 콜루 데젤 베 잠주치니 디 잠주치도 거
dunchu dunga
마카즈 루데 카레
aludun
루스 루델 하서 거기 잠주치다 베일 베일 잠주치오들 거 가라서 오는 지나 갑디디 잠블레 키올레 아주 케르 덴시요 덴자요레스 덴자 다 가시기 두자에 제도 거기 덴자로도 덴자요레스 다 깨또 이게 냠도 주통게 이기들라 니자요레스 다 루치토리아 기창게기 루지 요사게 케르들라 맞죠 마소마도 요 말레스 이노네 베이제테 맞죠 마소노 신즈요레 다 그래서 할 레와 베이제 사치 모레진 거기 시도 어디 응원이 주네 맞죠 그지 서냐고야 지사래 게르노네 게르님바 이바다 거기 시대오라 어디기요 사치 뭐 찍디레죠.
And the third reason that I particularly I consider that it's very important to really celebrate these days, this day is I think last year at the library there was a very important and famous scholar, French scholar. The name is Duchenne.
디체라테
Rapten. The Tibetan name is Duchenne Rapten, but he's a French scholar. And he was really a scholar, and he really made a very deep research in the whole scripts science. And then he said that in this entire planet, in this entire society of our world, and so we have around like six. He said that we have there is 700 languages. Okay, some people say 600 languages, but he asserted we have 700 languages in this world. Among these 700 languages in this world, 200 languages. 200 languages. They are more. They are until 2,000 years old, and more than 2,000 years old languages. So we have just 53 languages, and Tibetan language, Tibetan script, and Tibetan language is condensed among the elder than 2,000 years old languages, and so older than 2,000 years old language. We have just 53 languages, and so 53 among the 53 languages, very most precious languages are these ancient 53 languages, and so one is Tibetan languages. For this reason, these is very famous French scholars. He said, all of us, we really have to respect and try to preserve as much as possible this ancient language.
Okay, 다 그거가 조심스럽게 그마츠가 되는 몸을 뒤에 돌아서 당하고 조심원이 다디다. 아 조심원이 다 뒤에다. 안디 또 싫어 공에 그벌서 자자요디. 또 싫어베다. 또 싫어 세워들 가르를 세워들 맞서 뱀 물기다. 또 방부로 그러 싫기 방부 로자와 방부 로그라 왔다 처음 거기서 이 방부 또 싫어기 벌샤고야 뛰다. 맞서 그 리니니 바다 달라고다. lokpenda jireda odi izanga tumba shiro parjagu atti
ne insap sum mani labimbe insap sum labimbe
me tadame
okay and so now this was just a brief introduction and of whatever I'm going to talk today, but now we really start about the purpose of this talk today. Okay, this is the sculpture of Tompa Sherab. Tompa Sherab, yes. Yes, Tompa Sherab. And why I'm presenting Tompa Sherab here? Because Tompa Sherab is the very, very, very first Tibetan that really wrote about, made the one Tibetan script.
어찌되가 니네 가지고 단다 유즈자한테 너무 좀 싫어 것은 좋아해서 좀 싫어대 자고 같아 다 유즈 너무 성게 좀 싫어이로 그래 어떻게 좀 싫어 발 자고 같아.
And not only that, like the first scriptures, the first scripts or writings, Tibetan writings, and so originated in the time of Tompa Sherab.
일단 내가 좀 싫어 손밥자죠. 다 좀 싫어 자도 가지고 르니니 바 이상 가지고 다 도미 출리 제네면서 가지고 도미게 르니 있다. 나 거기 손밥 몸부에 몸부여래. 그러는 나탄 쳤듯이 네 거기 손밥지 발자이.
And not only that, we have because he was really like the original native Tibetan. He was really the original native Tibetan, and also he wrote the very first scripts or writings. And so that's the reason that I started my presentation with his picture.
어디 다 되어들 당아서 돈 보기 유즈자도 내고래. 레오들 나들라요 셰토 가르시고 저는 인삼치 못 써버지니시요. 인삼치 못 써버지고 그한테 저도 벽에 유즈를 때 인삼치니 신기다 80명이라고 지도 당아요나 다 만토잖아 메바베제라데 나가 만토가 그 메바 이구한테 요 말했지 80명이서다고 지도다 인삼치 못 세우들 당아 이요지 가로 요지 살도 개 말해 가르지나 인삼치 못 해야 돼 아주 벽이 그 저르그다 논이 단위 줄에도 앞에다 디로그다 단위 줄에셔대 나티 벽을 루지도 벽이 저르도 쉬어들 인섭치 못 싸우지는 어떤 식으로 최장아티 인사 마루 공원이 인섭치 못 싸우지는 시기에.
Okay, so now I'm gonna introduce about the development of the Tibetan calligraphy, okay? And I'm going to present this in divide into three historical stages, okay? And why I'm using this presentation of three historical stages, the division of three historical stages as the base of presentation, because either like in all the texts that I have been reading and so forth, I haven't seen different than three historical stages, like 4 or 5 and so forth. But also not only that, but also like in the main text, of the talking about these topics. And so we always present either the whole history of Tibet, either the whole history of the scripts in the three historical stages.
인사치부 다 인사 동보도 가르치는 거 조종 디컵지 유즈자 주식이 아니 전부 디컵지 유즈자 주식이 템바 치터 디컵니 따따지 버터제는 아 인사치 못 사고는 마 지나마 소리 무티지에 어디.
Okay. So the three historical stages, what are them? So first of all, is the script during the Zhangzhung period. Okay. Second is the script during the imperial or temporal, imperial Tibetan period, and the third period is after the later diffusion or revival of Buddhism until the late days.
Oh yeah. 당연히 뭐 됐어. 좀 주자. 됐어. 다 고타 가르스나 다 조조티 거기 가서 벽에 유지도 조사하세요. 당가서 루지마 초치게 뜻이 되어래다. 다 비나 좀 싫어게 거기 조사하세요. 뜻이도 다. 좀 싫어게 당가서 동부 유주 zon케테 좀 싫어는 그 조사하세요들 맞을 벽에 리니 됐다니 단답했을 루가스 차수잖아. 루지토라 차샤하세요. 어디로.
Okay, so first of all, in the scripts from the Zhangzhung period. So actually, this comes from the Bon historical accounts that the Tompa Sherab so created these scripts from 4,000 years ago.
다 코캅을 가르치는 이기 가르쳐샤세나 가서 다즈기 어느 본이세야 직조샤세 다즈기 본이 네 이기 들에 다 뽕다들에 당가서 톰바 싫어서 벽이 이기세야도 유즈세야도 열대요 말 지도도 써버리셔다디 톰바 싫어 톰 선부터 강을 별로 이기요 말 유즈요 말이세야 그 써버다지도 식침보래자 이나 다 뱀북이 촌이게 다 루지마 속에 다 톰 선부터 나루들라야 별로 이기요래 유즈 요래세리 다 몸부시에 되오라 그래서 뽕다도 마서는 되대오래다 이 다즈기 유즈세야디
So these now you can see the proof that yes, before Tommy Sambota, and so before Tommy Sambota, because usually many people, many scholars, they do consider that before Tommy Sambota, it was a great scholar we are going to present in a while. So before him, there was no Tibetan scripts, no Tibetan calligraphy. But actually, this is a proper proof here, this paper here, that yes, at the time of Bon, the time of Bon religion, so yes, Tompa Sherab, he did wrote and he did had a model for Tibetan scripts.
단단히는 따스게 대소 지나가서 파키스탄 속을 파키 되어서 아마 요조도 파키스탄에서 사다디 니브를 해서 어디서 파키 그래서
and these writing names is Tazik, that is it was from the Pakistan side.
어따들에 따tom바 시라고 그러고 살도 놀라다 가서 루지 생겼다 뱀부 초라고 뱀부 초에 말했다. 하고도 루지기 지 생게 뭐 지금 다다가서 tomba 시라고 유즈 tomba 수지한테 들여서 다 마르치도 마르치서네 그 세도 어디래서 마르치세야 들이 이 가가가 잡으이도 됐어.
And so this is the proof, right, of the script, the very first scripts made by Tompa Sherab, and he made two kinds of scripts or writings, two models of writings or calligraphy. One is Marchen, or one is the great Marchen, and one is the small Mar, right? Marchen and Marchun. Correct? Marchun. And this is Marchen. So
Marchen.
And this is Marchun.
Can
you see that both writings, they differ a little bit, but actually still is similar to nowadays? Maybe we can even recognize nowadays letters, isn't it? And this was made 4,000 years ago. And then there's another writing that he made that calls Lhapa, right? Lhapaike, the letter of Lhapa or the descendant gods. And also Zik. And there's another frame that is called Zik. Yes. So these are all the calligraphy, right? Tibetan writings before Thomas Sambuta.
다요 니바 전부 띠껍지 유즈자 실려 그래. 내가 버리자고야 내가 그 전부 세야도 다 버리다. 다 자이다. 근데지 의미에서 줄다. 묘무지 근데지 레슨을 주어라다. 이사래서 오거라.
Okay, so this was the first historical period, right, of Zhangzhung period, right? The second period is from imperial Tibetan period, known as Tibetan period. Imperial period, and this is just a picture representative of the imperial moment in Tibet. Okay, and so within this.
다 되기다 지금 영케 당부전에 다 코샤고다 이제 거기 땅원에 할래다 별로 가데 친구래 다 시르기다 우 토마증켄다 보다 다 코차대 그래 인상에 코 당부샤고야 진짜티.
Okay, so in this second period is the most precious and the most important for our historical development of Tibetan script. Why? Because actually the whole history, the whole foundation of knowledge, everything related to our scripts, our calligraphy, came mainly from him. He was Tommy Sambota. So actually he was our very first Lotsawa, the very great translator. Not only this, he was the very great scholar of understanding of this science of scripts and so forth. And so everything that we have now, or most of the things that we have now, we really is out of the kindness of this, the presence of Buddha Tommy Sambota.
Okay. tintu shenaro kar pe ni jibarajido inga shendona kisu karze odila ngazu so kaptitik ngazu ga tapembu zena muda ngazu ga jabu zena muda kaptitik sojengo mo zeatredo jabu sojengo mo ko khuro stil kar thoshasena kaptitik ngazu jonjon tuso ga ta chulu 강원다 저거 다 딘디기 처음에 나오더니 khuro 처음에 층나오더니 배제 조도 그래서 odila 다 콜 가르스 그 총들려 odila 맞을라 출루지 구두스 출루 야부치 아니 깨도 냠버기 이기지 구두스데 코 틀리셔버 통을 살아 이들 총우들라 다 통무섬 저기 어가서 송정공부기 틀 요한 오시대 자가를 렘부 몸부 동도와 이나 다 런두지면 타마데 고동샤 고동이 다 자가를 주는 루딜 하지 다다 하리바 생기도 리지라서 때니 게르다 몸부지 존에는 저별 회샤.
And I'm gonna present a very, very brief story of this period. That is, in that moment that Tomisambota was in Tibet, was alive in Tibet, and so it was the time of a very, very important king for our story. That is Chonsen Kampo. So the king Chonsen Kampo, out of really wishing to create a proper the whole culture of Tibetan, like Tibetan identity, Tibetan culture, and so forth. And so what he made, what he organized, like we have to really preserve our Tibetan philosophy, and so the religious, the Buddhist philosophy. Also, we have to preserve and have a very strong science or understanding of Tibetan language, not only language but the scripts. And in order to really make and have a proper structural Tibetan scripts, and so he sent many of the scholars to India, and the very last Tibetan scholars that he sent in order to really be well educated and understand the whole science of the grammar of the scripts and so forth, it was Tomisambota. And Tomisambota was sent by King Chonsen Kampo to India, and he stayed there for 7 years. Okay, and he had great teachers just like Sengye Sambo and also Leche. And after this, he came back to Tibet in order to promote Tibetan scripts.
Okay, 근데 그 토모소보다 자갈 섭해니 나가서 파원 가서야 그다 파우두시 그래. 다들 루지나 누다이 나가서 디서 가르치. 봐. 누샤고. 아까띠들에 다 거기 츠 자갈이 츠 용다나 이기도서 나가서 대주 전부 예서야 되거든. 근데 이즈도 다 거기 서버 제야 되려서 다 당부 이기 줘야 되려서다. 오만이 베모제지도 이즈 당부도 되려서.
Tomisambota.
토모소보다 이즈 당부도.
Okay, after he came back to Tibet, he wrote his very, very, very first frame with Tibetan script, right? With this Tibetan writing. And this frame here is the very, very first time that Tomisambota wrote in order to offer to the king Tibetan scripts. Okay, and so this is the very, very first writing that in the Tibetan history we have as proof.
어디래? 네 가르잖아. 당부
of Tomisambota.
유프라지 그래서 그 가르잖아. 엔주도서 예습 유즈도서 저기들에 다 소진가 뭔가서 갑디되게 접부이자 아니 콜이야 gem버셔도 gem버셔야 돼 이기디오 디레셔 디 인자들라 유프 이기로도.
Yes, and with all the qualities, all the necessary qualities that it was needed to represent this letter, this writing. And so these Omane Padme Hum writing here that Tomisambota wrote in order to offer to the most precious king, that was King Chonsen Kampo. So this was the very, very first writing of Tomisambota to King Chonsen Kampo.
어디래? 다 토모소보다가 이기 가서 당부 유즈 저딜러 야티 디시오로 유즈 저딜러리 토모소보다가 술라코트니 이기 저바레스로 그리고 롱사브레데 미신바지라 필로니 저바레스오딜러 내가 좀 키오다 키바 대라고 기바 안 나가마게 기바도 다가 상마다 출리림에 기바 연습하게 킬래야 그다다 버터를 묻히셔야 돼. 파워슬란티가 근데 되게 추진이 맞아야 되거든. 근데 벤치 아니 스드 벤치 아니 긴디 주미 어다든가 그저 뭐가 정아 철래자니 다든으로 맞듯이 다 두두두 전주이.
Okay, and so since Tomisambota wrote these, like many scholars after him, many scholars they were debating or trying to understand where did Tomisambota create this? How did he create this script? How did create this calligraphy? Like he created by his own mind, by his own side, or he was inspired or originated from other models, right? So there was many scholars try to understand or try to guess or try to they have their own theories, but I'm going to present 5 of these very important scholars with their own views of the origin of these Tomisambota's scripts.
어다 띠지래 다 당부부터를 무시게 가서 톰무 선부터 크로로 또 써봐 말이지. 젠바네 필로 샤즈네 그 소도아. tapi kalau sesuatu betul musik ani tanda kachi ki la pilone so shazi dinde lawdo yena kachi zeyade tachido kachi pagasde kachi ra jar kachi tam kachi rimomudo jigu chisula ya luji ge jamji batso ge jamji cheodilo kachi zeyade kaware de zeyodilo taso ngaso tanda ga kashmir ge zeyado o kashmir ge zeyade dire shazi kashmir ge keru ani rasta zeyado rasta ze keru dire ta kazo igi dire shade 내가 비로 자고 왔더니 딜라 필로네 아니 베이트 가게 벽이 유지도 베이트 저 샤지는 그저 콘티 정도.
Okay, and so among these five scholars that I'm gonna present their theory. So the first one is Punto Rinpoche. So Punto Rinpoche, it was a very, very important high scholar, and he stated that actually Tomi Sambota was inspired by other script, by other calligraphy, which is one Muslim, I can say Muslim calligraphy, okay, or writing. And actually we have many kinds of Muslim calligraphies, right? And but this was from Kashmir, from the area that nowadays is Kashmir. And so the Kashmir Muslim calligraphy, which is this now here presented here. So this was the calligraphy that inspired Tomi Sambota in order to write the Tibetan script. This was his theory, okay?
Okay, then I'm not this bruiser. 어따띠 니바데디 파우슬라 지야그 빌레사 띠레 단당아서 배추 제지바게 핸디기 띠레샤 아주 베이즈야 뜰라테는 저레지 어디레샤 다음에 좀 주시죠.
Okay, and so the second scholar is Pao Tsukla Tema, and he stated that actually the scripture was modeled in the Devanagari, which is the base for the Hindi.
디 니바 띠레 다 긴디 준비가 손바드레샤 긴디 준비가 가르쳐 온 주제는 곱다 이기자지도 아주 자가 곱다 이기자도 기도 배 유르님 바치레샤 이럽 지바 네 덴바니 파트레샤 티노게 저지체나 저지만다 비스가 페초토 잡이 기르치레샤 베나 네 다와 비아자 잔수 비아 조아 비아 존 비아시니 다 딘디 저지만다 비스가 페초토 잡이 기르치레샤 다 기르님 바레샤 다 님바 사 티럽 지바네 덴바니 파트 카싱가 바제도 다 고다 티럽 지바노게 기르치레샤.
Okay, and this actually is from the great scholar Gedun Chopel. And Gedun Chopel, he stated that he was inspired in the language or the script called Gupta. Gupta actually was very, very famous in order to from the 4th to 7th century, the present century. And some people say that this script was made in the 5th century. So anyway, so this is a script that Gedun Chopel, he thinks that Tomi Sambota was inspired by this.
Okay, that is it. 요 질러단다 전부 그 대걸로 요라 전부 그 대걸로 이기 유즈 만다 제용 그래 다 제던도 소리다 수파샴다지 이기자 디스트릭 이 장어른신 벌자지도 어코그서 저래자 장어른신 벌자지도 어코그서 자지 이기 유즈 때려서 아주 소파샴다지 소파를 저다진다고 이래서.
Okay, in this second imperial Tibetan the Tibetan imperial period that we are mentioned. So from this period, and so we have 8 kinds of scripts, right? And so this is the first one. So there is from the Chang'ar.
Okay.
So just for you to show, because we don't have so much time. This is second. This is Chakar Beutze.
Sorry.
Written by him. So this is the calligraphy of the writing. You can see the forms.
And then
the other scholar, there is Ginye Kuncho Ngawang. So he wrote this. And the fourth writing, it was written by Chutom. Yeah, and then the name of the letter.
Oh, you did it.
Nowadays we have Uche and Ume, so this is the name of the letter.
Oh, this is the Tibo Zhangzhung Kogi use.
This is the letter from Tsimpo Janju.
And in the
And this is from the scholar Teyun Den. that he wrote the letter called the Nimochune. Nimochune is the letter. Yeah, the letter was like rising from the sun. Nimochune.
Nyamochugunoniya 돼요 아주.
Nimochune.
다들이 다시 못 맞아야 돼. 거기 생긴노는 총다서 이기 들으셔.
And the other letter was written by Trishu Puma.
뭐야? 다들로 다서 다디 디엔체도 가르쳐는 전부 뒤까지 유즈 제자 유즈 뭐 제자 또 디엔체 들이다. 여기 넘어서야 전부셔야 들이.
So this was just to show the 8 main scripts or the 8 main scripts made in this imperial period. And now we enter in the 3rd period, that is the later diffusion or the revival of Buddhism up to the present time. This period now is this kind of calligraphy.
Okay, then it is a data temachiter jikoni tata jipati use it. Temachiter hogora, temachiter jikoni, and then put Otico use it, Tamazon Duja. And the Tigo Chisheto. Tatico the Damasu use it, the lava shit the woman do. I was yet the Layo Nielu to the moment you do. I will make the Layo Chiri to Tudo and chew use it, Momuchi you do. I got the women series at Tireda.
Zurich. Okay, and so
Tiri.
So nowadays, we have the Uchen and Yume, right? So in this 3rd period that comes until the current days, so we have this Uchen and Nume, and now this is our more in order to explain to you, to show to you the form and how to write each of the Uchen and Nume. These are sort of the writings. So there are some names, Tsutun and so forth, but I don't know how to. Okay, so sort of are the letters with short legs.
Oh yeah, that's how much you use it.
And these are the quick letters, quick writings. Yeah, this is even quicker.
So we have, yeah, but we have so many kinds of writings, but we don't have so much time to show. And this is one of the Trutsaike. I don't know how to say this in English. That tiro tandaji part of the tangazo motor that look color. I got a dig about that dingazo tiram di nolia, peg use it or rinil hal lea chichimbo taco cities of Tolagura. Hoga pay using manda hal lea momresha. Digazo tiram tiro di nola, peg use it in George Chisho Chebunda the Koresha.
And we have so many scholars, so many amazing scholars, but mainly in this period, the most precious and most important scholars out of his precious works and so forth is Zhangzhung Shabdrum. So these scholars, that's the reason that I present his picture here.
That's the Shabdrum use it. And Zhangzhung Shabdrum, this is his calligraphy, and so because I think it's so precious, that's why I brought here for you. Okay, then it apart main rose. Oh, did it? Adi Molom Dajit, Adi Tommy Charles, Trillion Tropa, which you may garrison, Drisan, Chujuso, Zippy, Yajazopi, use it, the Conji Shirin Tammy. Lazio, that thing Molom Dajit. I got a carry in a minute, you pick easy dilla, Nandachimuni, teacher 2 years at the Arabi Shijaki Chanio, Mutiche to Kabushbereja, pay Halia Mombreja. And also to peg easy the Satoni Manda New. Kashika Jado Guchu so loud. Kashika Nija has loud. Use Manda Zeta. And another Nishikashu Matarao Mata. What says that today is a hal leate some hal lea use Mombo. The Chesa today is up. But then Arago to Dana Nishimaturayo Mare. Today is another shit to the Chusula Mundu Monimutu. Pete Zomborisha.
Mm-hmm.
어디 다 너도
So just for conclusion, so this was a dedication prayer that I just did now, and so in brief, what I just wanted to present a little, very brief history of the Tibetan script and calligraphy. Okay, and actually we have so many kinds of writings, like even more than almost 200. They say that we have nowadays among the Tibetan scripts we have either from 196 to 200 varieties of Tibetan calligraphy writings. But I try my best to find as many writings as I could find, but I just found 20. Are those that I show you here, and it still is so much pressure. It's so precious. It's so important for love. It's because we already spoke about some of the reasons that I really I want to dedicate all the merits of this work, all the merits of this talk here, in order to keep this to preserve these Tibetan writings here.
오케이 드네 다 타마 로봇 카르세고 딜로 다 나도 처음하게 다 딜라야지 그 딱바리 연구요래 다 마음반에 바지 루라디 소치트 제자티 장아 처음하게 디들 녀지 제야이나 온다 디지털 카르 링가 파이나 만타이나 수수기치 유즈즈드니 페이스북 강고다고 털어지 잡아이나요 아주 게임들라야 잡주 차도 그래야 수수기 가지기 초안데 제나 상관이 말아를 쳐보여야지는 어떻게
Mm-hmm. And also, since we are here in this place, and we'll be here for a little while, and so I really I hope and I wish from you, that I request from you that if you can really like promote this day and promote these Tibetan scripts, and either like show some of the Tibetan scripts in their own social medias and so forth, I think this is going to be very beneficial.
근데 직다. 근데 다기가 인토랑지 도저 단다 별이야게 들이 벽에 유즈 전부 그다 디치 소소. 갑디딜랑 아주 벽에 단다 벽 유즈니 뭐 디치 소소. 제구 전부 소장. 제구 전부 소소들이. 이노를 단다 아주 총바치모. 배마원 시제야 깨도스. 다지마론 도서. 거기 유즈 좀 만다. 지들로 다시 들려라죠. 지들 가는 다 유즈 만다 소들. 야미긴 추가체 대자 덴시티 게트는 녀르서. 거기 가자 가르쳐서는 난디 이들라 지도 배차트는 뉴하게 뉴토아지요 말했어. 이나 들라 이들라 베기 미보이나데 머린디게 깔리잖니 다다베 요샤조스레스. 이 점세치 니니 코로가 빼 할래야 가제요스. 나 저절로 잡죠 예전에. 자미가 추데스 때제시네 딱고 유즈 삼년이 키르서. 그래서 그때에서 할래야린도 치고 그속이에.
Okay. And lastly, before I finish here, so I just remember something that is Pema Wanchen, that is a very, very important writer back in Tibet. He wrote three scripts, or he wrote three sentences or phrases or words in Tibetan scriptures, in Tibetan script, in Tibet, and he sold to the Chinese. And each, for example, I think was one of this calligraphy was he wrote Tashtele, and the other second and third I don't remember, but just the word Tashtele in Tibetan writing, he sold for 78,000 Chinese money. What's the name of the Chinese? Yuan. So and it was really, really very, very expensive. And why is like that? Because he said, first of all, I'm selling this Tashtele, this Tibetan calligraphy, for this much amount of money. Why? Because it's so precious for us. It's so expensive for us, because this really represents the whole Tibetan identity and people and so forth. And not only that, because I really like respect, and I have so much admiration for the Tibetan script and calligraphy and so forth, that I really want to give all this value selling this Tashtele, this calligraphy, for this much amount of money, and the Chinese did bought that. Did buy this. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Last one,